I know you've heard a lot of things about business certifications, from what's happening in the news, from what's happening with DEI, from what's happening everywhere. But there are still some business certifications that will serve you and help your business grow. And if you stay tuned, I'll tell you exactly which one may be right for you. I am Georgie Howie. I am a construction business owner who helps women in the construction industry build sustainable businesses through strategic partnerships, certifications, and a winning mindset. There are a lot of discussions around what's happening with business certifications, but there are still some business certifications that may just be right for your business and can create a lot of opportunities. So I wanted to share some of them for you to research on your own, but also spend this time with me to explore how to find them if you're getting stuck, if it's not working. There's been a lot of things in scarcity, I believe, that's been put out into the media about opportunities getting taken away. But myself personally, I can say and speak for myself in terms of there hasn't been anything in terms of what has been put out in terms of executive orders that has impacted my business and impacted the way I do business. My business certifications in my area, which is Maryland, DC, Virginia, are still looked at, they're still asked for, and they're still inquired about. And so what I wanted to share with you today is sometimes we have to get out of the weeds and out of the drama and out of the media, whatever. That's what it feels like, right? That's what it sounds like. We have to get out of that, and we actually have to get into what is really impacting us on a day-to-day. And so I'm speaking to certifications because I know a lot of people may be giving up or deciding that they're not for them, but I'm here to tell you otherwise. And so what's important in terms of certifications is what certifications in your area, or the business that you're doing in your area, what certifications are still required. Certifications in my area, and I believe for most areas that I still look at contracts, are still requiring MBEs, WBEs, and then any local certification requirements that they may have. And so your MBE is your minority business designation, which could be given to you by their either like Department of Transportation or your local entity that certifies for your MBE. Your DBE certifications, some still may be required. Some of those are more federal level certifications, so they may not be as important to you. But your WBE would be more of it, could be more of a local certification, could be more of a local requirement for contracts. And so when I'm looking at things for DC and Maryland and Virginia, they are not off the table. They're still looking for who has or what percentage of your business would be given to a WBE or MBE. And so when I say local, this is why it's important to understand what does your local government or certifying body provide, and then align it with what contracts you're looking for. So if I know that I want a major contract for reconstructing a building in DC, I need to look for the opportunities that have already been published and are out there and look for the requirements. And then I know I need to communicate those requirements and be able to communicate that I'm following up on those requirements. So again, it's really dependent on what your local business standards are and what your local business entities are requiring as to whether or not you could use or really benefit from the certifications. And I'm going to tell you now, the person in office is going to be there for 4 years, right? So while it may not feel important now, who's to say that after this term, that when someone else comes in, whoever comes in leads the country, we're not going to have the same resort back to those requirements. And so it's best to get your certification and not use it as like a stamp of a, like, oh, I have to have this, or, oh, if I don't, my business is going to fail. You want to think about it as a tool that you use to leverage and have more versatility. You're going to have more access. People are going to need you in a sense. And so you're going to be able to use that to sort of wager your bets against other companies or people who are similar to you who may not have the certification. And so despite what you may see in executive orders or on the news or on the TV, some companies are still required and mandated to respond to diversity efforts in efforts of their local government. And so local certifications are important. And what I mean by local is there's typically in your area, wherever you are, whatever state, city you are, there should be a local certification body. It could be from the Small Business Economic and Development. It could be And these are for like larger cities. I don't want to get it confused, but cities that are doing, business and infrastructure and things across the city, there should be a local certification process. And so how you go about looking for that is kind of Googling certifications for this area, certifications for my state, requirements as a minority business for my state, right? What are those? And you research those, and then you base that off of what you see in terms of your contracts, what people are requiring. And so there's two ways to do that. You do a blanket search. What are the certifications? Google, let's see what comes up. And or you look for the opportunities you may be interested in the future, and then you see what's required in that solicitation. So the solicitation would tell you you must have or partner with 30% of minority businesses or 5% of women-owned businesses when applying to this contract, and it should be given. And you're going to have to show effort if you're the prime contractor, show that you made effort to identify these companies. And if you're one of the companies and you're looking to work with a prime contractor, it's a good way for you to reach out to them and engage them about, hey, I'm here. I'm ready to work. I understand this opportunity is coming out. I have the certifications for the local area that are required and that are required per the solicitation. I would love to work with you. This is the work that I do and how we can support you. So when I talk about looking at those and seeing what the solicitations are, typically what I still have seen is the WBE certification. So it is saying that the business is at least 51% owned and operated, is a woman-owned business. So that means that a woman makes the majority of decisions, and if anything goes wrong or is something needs to change around the business, the woman is in charge of making those changes. And so if you can meet that criteria along with maybe a few other additional criteria in terms of what contracts you're going after and what industry you're in, right? You have to respond to the NACES codes. If you can meet that criteria, then you likely can meet the criteria of applying to this WBE. Now, if you're a woman in construction, you do meet the criteria. If you're a woman and you're operating as either a sole provider or you're operating as a single member LLC or a corporation where you're the majority owner, then you are able to go through and still look. And I provided a checklist. The ultimate checklist is in my bio. It is also linked in the comments. You can go to this checklist and really go into detail about what's required and what's needed for you. My goal today was really to share the information so that you can have, but not be discouraged about all the drama that's happening in the world that may persuade you to say this is no longer important. Because it's still very important, and it's still a tool that you can use to maximize your growth within your business. The MBE, which stands for typically my minority business enterprise, that is the requirement. It says that I am a minority, right? 51% or more of my company is owned by a minority. Minority being Black, Hispanic, woman, but typically by race. Race is what they're typically referring to, not necessarily gender. And so if your business meets that, along with a few other additional criteria that may be specific to your area or state, then you likely can pursue this MBE certification. It's possible. You just need to look. And so for me, the third type of business certification for DC area for me was the local certification, which was called the Certified Business Enterprise. And I want to say Maryland has a local designation, right? And so these local certifications is specific to me operating and managing my business in the area, right? My home base office for my business is in DC. And so because of that, DC has an entity in which you can apply, and they have contracts specifically for the CBEs. And when you're looking at contracts in DC in the construction industry, if I'm in construction or most industries and I'm getting a contract from the city, I have to give 30% of my business to a CBE. And so in my mind, if I'm going to be working on these contracts or getting money or working with the local government, then why not become a CBE? Now, it doesn't mean just because you become a CBE, you're not entitled to helping and supporting other CBEs. It's like this circle of things that you have to do. And so it's important to, again, use these things as tools, not hindrances. Use them as information of how you can expand your market. So not only could I partner with people because I'm a CBE now, I can partner with them because I'm an MBE. And again, you all have heard my story. If you have not, you will see the link later about me getting denied for my WBE. But when I reapply for that, I'll have my WBE. So at any state, federal, or local government level, I would have met the criteria for these minority designations that still, what I'm seeing today, still contracts require. And so sometimes we get so caught up in what's happening in the world that we don't really take the time to understand how is it applicable to us and our business, that we just lean into like giving up. Like, okay, well, he's taking it away, then I'm not going to do it. And this is not for me, then I'm not going to do it, instead of really investigating. So I'm challenging you to investigate, download the ultimate checklist that is linked in the comments, and see how that can support you with getting the information you need. From that information, you can figure out a plan. You can figure out, okay, what do I want to do? How many days do I need to do this? What documents do I need? Because I provided a comprehensive checklist for you to really go through to get everything together. And that is going to be your segue for you getting certification ready. It's not as hard as you think. You just have to kind of take the time. So if I'm going through some things that I think about when choosing the right certification, some of the things you have to think about: is your ideal client business or government, or is it like a large corporation, right? So if it's like government agencies, you want to do like your local, your big government agencies. Like for this area in DC would be like, I would need a CBE, because I know if it's a government agency, they're like to use a government funding. The funding requires you have a CBE. So those will be important for my area because it's local government. For some other areas, you may have local certifications that the government is requiring. But if I'm looking for like maybe a large corporation, they may need, if they're getting some additional funding from somewhere else, then you may be looking to have more of a WBE or MBE designation. So think about your target audience in terms of who you want to work with or for, in terms of, or your target client in this scenario, of who you want to work for, to help you determine, does the DBE or the MBE serves me better, or the WBE, or does the CBE or the local designation serve me? So for me, I know when I'm going after local contracts, again, it's good for me to have my CBE, which is local. And then when I'm doing larger corporations or companies, I may sort of lean into and try to market myself as a WBE. And just so you know, sometimes you can, again, I have multiple certifications and I'm still having one that I need to go after. Like, be mindful that you can go after and choose multiple certifications. It may change based on where you are. It may change based on where you live and what you do. But for us women in construction, it's more likely to be that we can be applicable for others. I'm Black, I'm a woman, I'm in construction. I'm in an industry that is growing, that has a lot of opportunity. And so I just want to make sure that I have whatever extra edge that I can't just steal from just a piece of paper or someone not knowing me. I want to come to the table with like no one having to say, no, I can't work with you because we need this. I want to be prepped and ready. And so I'm encouraging you to just look at the opportunity so that you can be prepped and ready as well. And so, again, it's important that you download the checklist because it's going to give you some information about things you can avoid, like not having all your documents ready, not updating your operating agreements. You want to avoid, taking too long to do applications. Some applications have deadlines. Although they are tedious, they can be very tedious, time consuming. I think there's a lot of benefits that I've seen in my business and the growth of my business. A lot of partnering that I do in my business is because I have these certifications, right? Again, as a CBE in DC, I can be given a contract, but sometimes I still have to use other CBEs for my contract. And so for me on my side, I still like to be that other percent. I still like to be a part of that 30% that people require if it's a prime or someone else who needs a CBE. And so just be willing to kind of look, right? They are not the magic gold thing that's going to change and catapult you to, this whole new level. But you also don't want them to be a hindrance if it's something that is still required in the solicitation and the opportunities you are going after. So, as I said, it is the opportunity. It is a I feel like it's a bonus. I feel like there's major benefits. I feel like it gives you the leverage you need when you're approaching companies and organizations and corporations and government around your capability. And for me, again, my experience has been that I'd rather have it than not have it and someone tell me no. So prepare yourself. Think wisely before you just do away with this idea that you don't need them anymore. Come back to the table, download the ultimate checklist so that you can have the information to guide you to the finish line. And if you're still struggling, just leave a comment and I'll be sure to get back with you. Remember, let's continue to build something great together.